everybody, it's Cheryl at Educational Freedom, and it's Home Education Awareness Week. In this video, we are talking to Jo and Abi, who Abi is home educated. So let's find out a little bit about them. Would you both like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hi, my name's Jo. We live in a small town near Eastbourne in East Sussex. We've been home educating from the age of 10, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm 17, and yeah, home ed's been a great experience for everyone, for both of us and people we know as well. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and I think I've really learnt a lot coming out of school and not being able to read and write to suddenly being able to do a lot more, learn about capabilities. Sorry, I know that you haven't asked the question yet.
That's fine.
But
no, if you've got something to say it.
Yeah, no, you feel free. I'm quite happy because obviously, from the perspective of we came into. Did you want to ask this question? Why we came? Yeah, we came into home education because Abi did have learning issues, and I wasn't heard. She was severely dyslexic with dyscalculia and on neurodiverse, and nobody seemed to want to acknowledge it, and instead of helping her, if I'm honest, she was ridiculed and scapegoated. You gave an example earlier, didn't you? Oh, look, even Abigail Elmer can do that.
Yeah, I have. I don't know. I guess just part of my disability. I was slow in developing things like shoelaces, for example. That's just part of dyslexia. And for me, one of the things.
And dressing, PE was even though I didn't buy shoelaces on. Did I on your trainers? I can't remember.
No, I don't think you did. I had the strap-on ones, but I couldn't. I was slow in getting dressed when I was younger, and all the other kids at school, they'd all get dressed for PE, and I would be the last one. And I remember there was one day there was another student that was a bit slower and was the last to get changed, and I had finished. For some reason, I don't know if they were tired or ill or what their reason was, but for this particular student, I can't remember who it was, and the teacher was like, "Oh, hurry up, even she's finished." And I just think that kind of you making an example of someone. I mean, I was only 6 or 7. It's quite.
And I caught him.
Stuck with you. That's awful.
Yeah, I caught this. Sorry, I shouldn't say the gender, but I caught this person because I used to work at the school, helping, assisting in the classroom. And I was walking down the corridor and he was moaning about my daughter to the other teachers. But the final straw really came when, sadly, we lost Abi's dad throughout this time as well. And the final straw was when Abi went on a residential trip, bearing in mind that they all knew her father had cancer and was with palliative care stage. And you were a bit worried about him, weren't you?
Yeah.
And instead of being reassured, she was totally punished, humiliated and chastised, and it was managed really badly. So what came back to me from that trip was a traumatized child. And I couldn't, which Abi later did get diagnosed with PTSD, but I couldn't settle. Initially it started, I couldn't settle her in any school with the best will in the world. The experience had traumatized her so much. You were just hysterical, weren't you?
I was homesick on this trip as well. You know, when you've just seen your dad in quite an ill state, it's just starting to hit home. I was only about 10, and I started to panic, and all that stuff like
first time away from home. But that was what ricocheted us into home ed, and also the fact that they just would not listen to me about the disabilities. They put her under an umbrella of learning disability, which didn't really help her. So when she did come out of school at 10, she couldn't read, she couldn't write, she couldn't count past 10, perhaps.
I could count to 100.
Any sum,
I could count, but I couldn't do sums to save my life. I couldn't. Even now with dyscalculia, it's a disability where you can come over it, but I'm sure you know about it. You can come over it, but you're still a little bit. Your brain is still. It can still be a processing thing. So even now, I need to gather myself. Even now, my teacher has asked me before. It's quite sad, really. What's 4 times 1? And it takes me a minute just to sort of process what he means and what he's just said. and it's embarrassing, really, but it's just part of the disability. It's unfortunate that I was just overlooked. I think it's the worst part.
When you started home educating, did you need a period of time to adjust? Did
definitely,
you see
didn't
school
you?
for a while?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say it took a long time to adjust as such, to get into schoolwork and to be able to learn. I think is the right word.
Was it possible for Abi to learn? And if I remember correctly, you were very
learning resistant.
lonely.
Yeah, I was very lonely.
She said to me, Mum, you don't understand, these people are my friends at this, that's what I'm missing, my friends. But at the same time, you couldn't cope with the
environment.
So we found fortunately, there by the grace, down the lane from where we live, it was a specialist dyslexic teacher who took Abi on 5 days a week and did one-to-one with her. And very quickly, I found an amazing home ed group locally. And the mums, what can I say? We support each other. But I wouldn't have got through that time without us all pulling together, and we share information and we share classes, and we'd find good teachers, and obviously it would help with the cost if we had a small group. So yeah, I hope that answered your question and we haven't waffled too much.
So once you'd settled in, you've chosen quite a structured routine.
Yeah.
You've chosen lessons and tutors.
Yeah, we did.
Do you feel that was the right approach, Abi, for your learning style?
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, sometimes there will be, or have been, not necessarily so much now, but there were classes like our art classes and things, and I found that was nice. That they were all right. They were good, and they were out of that school environment. I find that the teachers and things, sometimes the mums and things that teach as well in home ed, they don't have the I don't know, the school attitude. The straighten your tie. It's all quite relaxed, and I think it's nice when everything's on a human level. You know what I mean?
I do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So within that structured sort of learning, did you have the freedom to go off if you had a thought or a question? Were you able to explore those thoughts and questions even though you'd got quite a structured approach?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say that you could learn, you could do you quite a lot. I think
you liked it because you could learn at your pace, didn't you? There wasn't this deadline. You've got to get there. Now, Abi's, as you know, because I've sent you, has written books, had them published. We've been on a trip recently. We were on the plane coming back, and she was reading a book, okay, and enjoying this book. And then she's taking sociology A level. She's halfway through and she's doing her work. So reading is pretty good now. And I did sit there, proud mum, and think, if I hadn't battled all those people and told them to get lost, because they did give us a hard time.
Yeah, they did.
Tried to get her back into school. I'd sat there and thought, if I hadn't have done that, she wouldn't be sitting there reading and writing, and she has an A-level B in art now, already, and I just think, well done you.
Well, thank you very much, Mum.
Well done from me as well. That's quite an achievement. We're going to share some of the things, if that's okay, in the comments, and when we share this. We'll share some of the things that you've done, because they are extraordinary. We're really chuffed when we hear stories like this. You've really overcome quite a lot to do what you've done. So, I mean, you covered quite a lot of what we were going to talk about there. Is there, beyond what we've already said, is there sort of one thing that you've done that you absolutely would not have done if you'd have been in school?
I would definitely say write a book, because
you never would have read.
No, or read. but I've always wanted to be an author since the age of 8. So that's long before I could even write, long before I could read. And I knew that there was technology and things out there, but to me it seemed like an impossible mission. But it was something I really wanted to do. It was something I really hoped for. So, yeah, I would say write a book, even though it's self-published. Yeah, just to be able to do that, I would say it wouldn't have been possible had I not come out of school.
No, that's fantastic. And if you could say anything to maybe a slightly younger teenager that's struggling in school, or a younger person, what would you say about home education to them as an option?
I would say don't feel like it's giving up, actually, in many ways, because I think a lot of people see it like that. So don't feel like it's giving up if you choose this option, because for some people, not everyone, but for so many people, it can really work. So yeah, I highly advise go for it if you feel that might work for you.
Don't be afraid and jump, take the leap, because the system is as it is right now. And if you don't fit that box, if you're slightly different, people can really suffer in school. And don't worry about the money. Don't think ahead too far. This would be my advice. Yeah, don't overthink it. Just do, because you find the resources come. You find it's out there. Yeah. That would be my advice. The adjustment period is a bit tricky, but people do. We all have to adjust in life, and find a good home ed group. Find other home ed mums.
System. That's another good piece of advice.
Yeah, there's lots of really amazing groups out there, and sometimes
there are.
Sometimes they're not always a good fit personality wise, but there's loads of others, and there's always families wanting to meet up that might not have found their right group yet. So we're big advocates of keep reaching out, keep shouting, and you will find your people. So if you've already written a book and you're already doing A levels and you're already doing amazing, what's next?
Oh, that's a big question. I'd like to go to university, possibly. I've been looking into those university courses, and well, I'm planning my 4th and 5th book, so yeah, I'll be doing those.
Abi'd like to do what is it? Creative media, because she wants to produce, because she writes, and then obviously she's been the other side, being the actress in that. It's only a short film, by the way. It's
we should share that as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just really a proud mum. What can I say to you? She's just amazing, and I've found as a parent, another nice thing about not being in the system is Abby's a nice human being, and you find that home eds, I've found they're nice human beings. They're not following the pack. Yeah. Or trying to
fit. They are, but the pack tends to be quite nice. They don't tend to be.
In our experience, that's how we found it.
Nobody in the pack is the same.
No.
Everybody's allowed to be individual. That was the first thing that struck me. Obviously, working in the school as well. The first thing that struck me was in the art lesson. For example, if you're in an art class at school, everybody's doing the same. Art class in home ed, everyone had a different project, and
when I say different, sorry, Mum.
No, you carry on.
I went to the art exam, and there was every single student was doing something completely different, even a different type of art. Like there was a girl that was doing, I don't know if it's called textiles, but she was sewing. And there was someone behind me that was doing she was a photography student doing this. I don't quite know what it was, but it was like a frame that had loads of different slides in it. It was like this box. And someone else had a board with like grass on it and pictures. It was unique. I loved that.
And that was a home education examination board, Fargos. That particular exam.
Everyone was very creative with it. They were,
and happy. I have to say, they adhered to the rules, but nobody seemed very stressed.
And everyone was different as well in their styles. And I found someone else that was a bit dark, I guess.
Abby's a goth.
So here's an interesting question, talking about groups. back when you started and you were 10, had playing with toys been something that had been sort of bullied out of you being in school? And when you came back to home, when you came to home ed, did you feel able to play again?
Yes and no. I found that I was still playing with toys when I came out of school. But yeah, I would say that other kids, while in school, were like, oh, that's a bit childish. But I would still do it anyway. But I became less ashamed and felt more free while in home ed, I would say, because, you know, but it's sad, really. I had this conversation with one of my teachers. It's sad how these days children, they have to grow up so fast. You know, at 9, they're on TikTok with makeup and things, and it's sad that they want to grow up so fast. It's nice to just be a child sometimes when you're young, and to be free in those years.
Yeah,
I value that.
You've clearly had a really good childhood, but you're also extremely intelligent and articulate and quite mature by the sounds of it. So
thank you.
But that wasn't forced on you.
No, I
that
wouldn't
seems
say
to have
so.
come quite naturally.
It just came naturally with what happened with her dad, and
grew up overnight a bit when dad died.
Yes, I imagine. Yeah.
And but again, you know, at that particular time, Abby was in education, and they gave her an unauthorised absence for the day of her father's funeral.
I wasn't necessarily going in, but I was. Oh, that was terrible.
Signed off, and this
they called us unauthorised.
We're just planning his funeral, you know. We're just sorting the flowers, and
terrible, absolutely terrible.
Anyway, you know, I'm glad it was the best thing we did, and worth the work. Like I say, Abby didn't arrive at this stage without working to get there, you know, and Abby's neurodiverse, so we multi-taught. I multi-taught. She had visual, audio, physical, and we had 3 teachers teaching one subject, didn't we, Abby, at one point? And she did pass that, which again, I'm sorry, but I am such a proud mum. She, dyslexic person, was written off by the system, has just passed English literature at Cambridge, IGCSE, quite a good grade, C, but
a high C.
A high C.
2 marks off of a B.
Yeah.
Call me petty, but
that'll have been a missing comma somewhere.
Yeah.
Whereas Abby would, I think she would have spent her time in the bottom with the naughty children. Yeah. You know, no disrespect to them, because
no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, they're struggling too. But
yes, yeah.
Well, what can I say?
Thank you very much, both of you, and we shall talk soon.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Take care.
Bye bye.